We've been having fun. We're down here in Gallatin, Tennessee at the lovely Palace Theater. I said it right that time, right? Yay. Okay. I keep having trouble with the Palace and Paradise. I don't know why. It keeps kicking on that aspect of
I
it.
got confused because I think they have another one over in Portland.
Mhm.
They're same name.
Yeah.
That really blew my mind.
Yeah, it's crazy. But this one was built in 1913. I don't know when the one in Portland
It's
was
about the
built.
same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about the same situation. It's
Yeah.
a beautiful place. I did a concert in there with Ronnie McDowell.
Yeah.
Sure did. Yeah. And yeah. But anyway, we've been all excited for this today.
Oh yeah, it's been crazy. We've been working our butt off. So you doing primarily saxophone?
Sax and vocal.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Say I've been talking to several people about incorporating some sax
Cool.
into country music.
Well, I've been doing it for a long time now. And in fact, oh gosh, going back, you know who Mickey Gilley was?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was Mickey's first sax man.
Oh, cool.
Joined him. I tell everybody now it's about 100 years ago.
You never know.
I was straight out of high school. I was born and raised in Shreveport, Louisiana.
Right.
And I left Shreveport right straight out of high school and went down to Lake Charles.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I ran into Mickey Gilley and ended up joining his band as his first sax band.
Man.
And Mickey took me to Houston, and I ended up living in Houston for almost 30 years before finally escaping to Nashville.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. Hang out down there or come up here. That's kind of a iffy thing there. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd have had to definitely flip a quarter on it and see which way to go.
Well, that's true. So true.
The only thing that saddened me, because I grew up during that time of Urban Cowboy, that movie, and all that stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
And what saddened me the most was Gilley's burnt down before I ever made it out there, because I wanted to go to that place so bad.
It was quite a place. It was the in the Guinness World Book of Records is the largest honky tonk
Mhm.
in the world, and
Yeah.
it was just a big old mostly wooden structure.
Yeah.
And they had kind of fixed it up from time to time as time went by there, the place became especially famous with the Urban Cowboy movie.
Yeah. And you got to play on the stage.
I did a little bit with Mickey out there.
Yeah.
But you see, all this Urban Cowboy thing was after I had worked with him.
Right.
Because I was with Mickey early on before all the Gilley stuff.
Yeah.
And
So you was in the formative years.
absolutely. Yeah, Mickey actually took me to Houston in 1960.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And we worked a club down there. It was called the Ranch House Club.
Yeah.
And things went from one to another, and we ended up having to leave that place, and we ended up without a gig.
Right.
And you know how that goes.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's when I had to go on with another band, and we tried several times to get back together, but it just wouldn't work for one reason or another.
Yeah.
But Mickey came to me. He came to be like the older brother I never had.
Yes.
Really. And so I always loved him and always will. But those were some days, all right.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine. Talk about wildness.
Yeah. I'll tell you one. This will blow your mind. As I said, Mickey took me to Houston in 1960.
Right.
All right. At that time, Mickey was being managed by Leland Rogers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Leland Rogers was Kenny Rogers' older brother.
Right.
And Kenny was still around town playing upright bass. It was, in fact, with the Bobby Doyle Trio.
Yeah.
They were playing hotel lounges and that kind of thing, So one day we get ready to go in the studio to do some stuff with Mickey. And Leland had Kenny to come in and play upright bass with us on the session.
Yeah.
Well, we did 2 songs on Mickey, and then Leland said, "Hey, how about those instrumentals y'all been doing in the club? We'd been putting some instrumental stuff together."
All right.
And he says, "Let's cut them."
There you go.
So we recorded the instrumentals, and Leland Rogers actually named one of them Shelton's Blues. And there was 2 songs. The other side was called Hot Licks.
Yeah.
And Leland ended up putting those 2 out on a 45 on his label,
Mm-hmm.
and he got quite a bit of action on it around the area.
Wow.
So the very first recording that I ever had on my name was Shelton's Blues, the A-side, and lo and behold, I had Mickey Gilly playing piano and Kenny Rogers playing bass. You believe that?
That's a hell of a lineup.
Of course, the rest of the guys were super too, you know.
Yeah.
But I tell folks about that now. You'd never believe it. But the music business is so crazy. Things happen.
Mhm.
It just happens.
Well, I mean, Kenny went on and he was playing in a rock band.
Oh yeah.
And then he went to country.
Yeah.
And then he wasn't playing any instrument at all. He was
Right.
just up
Yeah.
singing,
That's right. Yeah. And of course, he did so many great things. He had such a heck of a career. He left some big shoes to fill.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, it was amazing how many instruments that man could actually play.
Really? Yeah. But he was a fantastic artist.
Yeah, really was.
Mm-mm-mm.
And Mickey wasn't too shabby on that piano now.
Oh no. Mickey always, when I first came across Mickey, as I said, down in Lake Charles, Louisiana,
Mm-hmm.
I had gone down there. I was born and raised in Shreveport, Louisiana,
Right.
and I had to backtrack just a little bit for you here. I was fortunate to be during my high school years. I was fortunate to be in the Dale Hawkins band in Shreveport, Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
Dale was the guy who wrote, recorded, and had the first big hit on what went on to become one of the most popular songs of rock and roll in history,
Yeah.
Susie Q.
Mm-hmm.
So Dale was the guy who had the first hit on it. And so that was the band. That was the band that I came out of. And by the way, the guitarist of that was none other than James Burton.
Awesome.
You know who I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And James, of course, played with everybody on the Sun.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, is now in all the Country Music Hall of Fames. The last one is the Country Music
Mm-hmm.
Hall of Fame. But anyway, yeah, James was on guitar when they cut that, and so history was being made. And hey, we were just having fun. We didn't know we were making history.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that's what it's all about. It's
But when I got back on Mickey. When I went down to Lake Charles, I was looking for a gig,
mm-hmm.
and I went into the only studio that was in Lake Charles at the time. It was Gold Band Studio down there.
Mm-hmm.
And there happened to be a guitar player happened to be doing some overdubs in there, and I hung around and got to meet him, and told him that I was looking for a gig. And he said, "Well, he was working a thing." He said, "Working at a club downtown there," and invited me to come by. So I said, "I'll be there."
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So look, I went in, and I just got me a chair up to the bar, and sit down and listen to him play.
Mm-hmm.
And I was blown away. I could not believe that anybody could sound that much like Jerry Lee Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, now I know why. The Mickey and Jerry Lee and Jimmy Swagger were all the first cousins, and were all raised together in Mississippi. Was it? I can't remember the town right now. But anyhow, it'll come to me. But yeah, Mickey blew me away doing that Jerry Lee stuff.
Yeah.
And
They probably had the same teacher.
absolutely. Well, yeah, you could say that. Jerry Lee actually started ahead of Mickey.
Yeah.
And Mickey come along, and he kind of idolized Jerry Lee and looked up to him, but and wanted to be like Mickey. Mickey wanted to be like Jerry Lee.
Right.
So anyhow, the second set, I guess it was, he said, "Get your horn out, come on up." So I got my horn out and got up there with him, and Mickey kicked off Great Balls of Fire. Yeah, we'd already been playing the song up in Shreveport.
Right.
You know? And so I laid into it. And when we finished it, Mickey turned around and asked me how much I wanted to go to work.
There you go.
So that's how I ended up being Mickey's first sax man.
Oh,
Just like I say, just love him to death.
as a young kid and playing for Mickey, I'd have been all over that.
I was straight out of high school.
Now, did you learn how to play in high school in the band?
No, I started before then. I actually started on the sax when I was 9 years old
Mm-hmm.
in the 4th grade of elementary school.
Wow.
We had, back in that day, they had a traveling music teacher.
Yeah.
She would go around to several schools and help kids get started on instruments. And she came in our room one day. I'm in the 4th grade. She came in and announced to us that she was going to be teaching instruments, and asked if any of us were interested in learning how to play instruments.
Yeah.
I had never given it a second's thought before then.
Yeah.
But something hit me, and I said, "Yes, ma'am."
Well, yeah.
I said, "I want to do it." So she said, "Listen," she said, "you go home and tell your folks that if they'll get you some kind of an instrument," remember she said, "some kind."
Oh, yeah.
Woman had to know all of them.
And she had to.
Yeah. So she said, "You get your folks to get you an instrument, and I'll help you get started." So I went home and I told my folks about it. And my dad, now, I didn't know one instrument from another. I didn't have a clue. But my dad said, "You know what? It's big band day."
Yeah.
He said, "I like the sound of an alto saxophone."
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what it was. But he liked the sound. He said he liked the sound of an alto.
Yeah.
So that's that's how I ended up on alto to start with. My mother she got on the trolley. That's electric, like a bus, but it runs on electric lines above head.
Yeah.
That's what we had in Shreveport. She rode the trolley downtown and went to a pawn shop and found me a alto sax, and took it down the street to the music store and had it overhauled. And that I ended up playing that horn for about 6 years.
Wow.
Sure did. And but that's how I got started, and that's how I ended up on the alto sax as my primary instrument, and it still is today.
Yeah. I love the sound of alto.
Well, you know what? This was rock and roll days.
Yeah.
And just about every rock and roll record had a tenor sax solo on it.
Mm-hmm.
It was the most popular was the tenor sax, and every record that come out, it had to have a sax ride.
Oh, yeah.
And most of them were tenor. So I listened to those tenor rides and loved the sound. And so I kept working to try to get sort of a tenor sound out of my alto.
Yeah.
And I was fairly successful at it. My sound is that's where it comes from.
Created your own.
Well, I guess you could say I did. And of course I was influenced by so many players. Oh gosh, so many that I just idolized and wanted to be like. So there, so many influences come into me.
Well, Springsteen had that sax player on his stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
And and in fact, Springsteen. Let's see. I remember him doing one thing that where James Burton was with him on it. And of course, James played with so many, everybody in the business.
Oh yeah,
but over the years, I've just had influence from so many. Boots Randolph was one. I love Boots, and never had a chance to play with Boots. I did talk with him one day.
Yeah.
I talked with Boots on the phone, and then the way it come about, after I came to Nashville, I got involved in gospel music, and I had my first CD of hymns, and I had this idea. You talk about country. I had this idea that I wanted to do another project. And it was going to be gospel, but I wanted it to be country.
Yeah.
And I mean, with all the typical country instruments.
Right.
And I said, if anybody has done this already, it's got to be Boots Randolph.
Well, yeah.
And so I went to his website. He had a bunch of CDs on there. And I found one he called Sunday Sax.
Mm-hmm.
So I ordered that CD. And when it come in, of course, I listened to it immediately and was blown away with his playing. But you know what? There was not a lick of country on there.
That's
I
weird.
couldn't believe it. What they were really into was more of a Dixieland thing.
Yeah.
In fact, they opened up with Saints Go Marching In. It was
Yeah.
the first song on there. But he had some other stuff on there that just blew me away as well. And so anyhow, I sat down and they had the address on there, and I fixed up a copy of my CD and sent it to him. I didn't figure out I'd ever hear anything,
Mm-hmm.
but I wanted to see what he thought about what I was doing.
Right.
And lo and behold, about 3 weeks later, my phone rang, and it was Boots. It was Boots. He was at home recovering from surgery. They had done a heart stent.
Yeah.
Put a stent in his heart, and he was at home recovering from that. And called. He listened to my thing and picked up the phone, called me. And you know what? It was like old friends.
Mm-hmm.
It was like we just connected there, and it was just unbelievable. And he gave me some guidance on issues that I was having with the horn and so forth. And in fact, I ended up getting a mouthpiece for my horn that was the same mouthpiece that he played on tenor, but I got it on alto.
Yeah.
And I got that mouthpiece, and I played it for quite a few years before I finally moved on to what I have now.
Right.
And
Well, see, that's what I liked about back in the day. Artists help out artists out back then. It was a big thing.
That's right. Exactly.
And then somewhere it got cutthroat and stabbing in the back and all that other stuff.
I'm afraid so.
I never understood it.
Nashville has always been known to be more guys helping guys.
Mm-hmm.
But as you say, the dollar gets a hold.
Oh, yeah. The wickedness comes out.
I'm afraid so. I'm afraid so. But anyhow, after the I got in after coming to Nashville, I ended up getting involved with gospel music, and
right.
I fought that thing for over 20 years.
Boy, yeah.
And finally, COVID come along.
Yeah.
And after COVID come along, just knocked the socks out of everything.
Oh, yeah.
I decided after that there was time for me to get back to my roots. And my roots are in classic rock and classic country.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, I've done 2 CDs. The first one was classic country and classic rock revival.
Right.
And then after that, we've done another one, which I know you'd dig, but because it's country meets soul and soul meets country.
Mm-hmm.
What we have done there is that we took 6 classic country songs and brought in soul instrumentation, influence and so forth into them. And then we took 6 soul songs and brought country into them.
Yeah, like a little fusion.
Fiddle, steel guitar, you name it.
Yeah.
And we've got quite a project there, and it's been very well received. And I'm looking forward to doing something else. And I'm not sure exactly what we're going to do. I'm just beginning to kind of list some songs that might be possibilities.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not a songwriter. I don't.
Yeah, but with music, all things are possible.
I'm doing a little bit like Mickey Gilley did, in that his biggest hits were remakes of old songs.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot to be said for that.
Oh, yeah, there is.
But anyway.
It gets crazy.
Yeah.
Shelton, I appreciate you being on, bud.
Oh, it's been a blast, man. I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, I love hearing the history and the rise of Shelton. So,
well, I tell everybody, you know what? I'm one of the survivors of the first rock generation.
Yeah.
And I started when I was 9 years old, and I'm now 83.
Get out of here. You ain't no 83.
I'm 83, and I never had sense enough to quit.
Well, it's a good thing because hopefully we'll get some more music out of you.
I'm going to be on here. I think about 5:20. I think I'll be on stage.
Yeah, here in just a few minutes. Sweet. You got a website or anything people can find you?
It's sheltonbissel.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
One thing I'd like to tell you is that we just got in our first flash drive.
Okay.
So many people have said that they don't have CD players anymore.
No.
So what we've done is we have some flash drives made, and they include both of the last CDs.
Oh, cool.
So the flash drive has got 2 CDs in it, and all you do is it's USB.
Mm-hmm.
You got a USB player, maybe in your car nowadays.
Yeah.
So forth. Just plug it in, you got it.
There you go. I love it. All right, y'all. Check out Shelton Bissel at .com.
Yeah, Bissel.
He's there.
You got it. SheltonBissel.com.
It's there. Shelton, I appreciate you and love the history and everything, man. I love it.
My pleasure.
Can't wait to hear more things from you. All right, y'all. Check it out. We're still down here at Gallatin, Tennessee, having fun with the Linda Purrs show and everything she's got going on down here. Met a lot of interesting people. So we love it, and we'll be back in a little bit. Love you. See ya. Bye.
All right.